It was abbreviated to begin with, so we knew it was going to fly by, and it really did. It seems like we were just kind of cracking the lid on spring highlights, and here we are in 2 days talking about opening day. There's a lot of kind of divisional and regional rivalry games that are ending spring training, A's, Giants, Dodgers, Angels, et cetera, et cetera. Joel Sherman's with us, Lauren Shahadi with us as well. Matt Orzo's in for Costas once again, and we have quite a lot to get to, including the last groups of spring highlights, and surprisingly, still some deals, signings, and trades. And I don't know how you felt about this, Carlos. Let's say good morning to Joel. The Tigers acquiring Austin Meadows kind of came out of thin air for the rest of us that aren't completely locked into Detroit and Tampa St. Pete. Joel, good morning to you. And I will ask you first about this trade, I guess, and we'll get to the Tigers end of it for sure. They're the acquiring team on a star player. But why the stock drop for Austin Meadows in Tampa? I thought that was a good fit for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know that the stock fell as much as the Tampa Bay Rays last night, Tampa Bay Raid, and I'm sorry for the verb usage there. This is what they do. He is a controllable player. You have him for this year and 2 more afterwards. He's only making $4 million this year. So why does Tampa Bay do this? Well, essentially, this is how they acquired Austin Meadows. Chris Archer was arguably their best starting pitcher at a point where they got Meadows, Shane Baz, and Tyler Glasnow. They're always looking to turn it over, turn 1 into 2 or 3. They're going to bring up their top hitting prospect, Josh Lowe, another lefty hitter to play. The thing they won't say out loud is, I bet you for minimum wage, they're thinking that Josh Lowe will do a lot of the stuff for them that Austin Meadows would have done. And just philosophically, Matt, the Rays' way of thinking is, we can never play with the Yankees or Red Sox as far as top-end talent that you pay a lot of money. But they believe when the Yankees, Red Sox, now Toronto, loses one of those players, the drop-off is great to whoever their replacement is. The Rays' philosophy is, let's just keep building depth, so that when we have the obvious injuries or production problems, we have more people to just jump in there and never deviate from the quality. Someone like Paradis, who they got in this trade, they have so much middle infield depth. In the majors and the minors, they like him. They like that they get a competitive balance B, which is between the second and the third round. It just keeps adding the volume of players available to a team that's always going to have a limited payroll.
Makes sense. I mean, I was looking at this last night thinking, all right, what could be the problem here? Because the Rays obviously are fine with strikeouts. That's the only flaw if you really want to, slice hairs with a player like Meadows. I'm just disappointed, and you bring up Josh Lowe, that we didn't get to a place with the Rays that Nate Lowe, Josh Lowe, and Brandon Lau were all teammates, because that would have tied our Scotch-Irish tongues in knots for years. Let's get to the other side of this then. The Tigers making another push. Look, they're putting their best foot forward. This is not go get them next year in Detroit. They're trying to win now, quite clearly.
Yeah, and I just to jump on you, it all could have been brought to you by Lowe's, right? And they could have made some money. Anyway, why does Detroit do this? Well, Detroit's in kind of go-for-it mode now. They made 2 huge signings in the offseason, and Eduardo Rodriguez and Javi Baez. They were looking already for a little more heft. They needed it. They felt they needed it. Riley Green was going to make this team as their center fielder. His lefty bat is now lost. He fractured his foot for a while, so they go and get Meadows. And here's something I would not overlook. The Tigers last year versus right-hand pitching, 696 OPS versus right-hand pitching. Look at all this right-hand pitching in the AL Central. Meadows, over the last 3 seasons, is an 899 OPS versus right-hand pitchers. That's number 20 in all of baseball for at least 750 plate appearances. There was a breakout by Akil Baddoo last year, lefty hitter. They acquired Tucker Barnhart, switch hitter. They already have Robbie Grossman and Jamar Candelario. Suddenly, and they'll eventually get Green back, suddenly they have a lot of lefty hitting. When you also add Meadows, gives them some balance to go against it. And just a small thing, Robbie Grossman is a free agent at the end of the year. I know they'd like to keep him, but they have control of Meadows now just in case they lose him.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the home road splits for Austin Meadows. Carlos can speak to this personally. I'm surprised to see that Meadows actually had a better hitter's profile at Tropicana Field than he did away from there, because we hear that it's the last great pitcher's park. People think that maybe it's a little darker. The extension that the pitchers get there is a real thing. It's quantifiable. What about you? Were you a guy that loved hitting there or hated hitting there? Is that real or imagined?
I haven't looked at the numbers, but just going back on the way I felt, I really felt comfortable hitting in Tropicana. So, it's one of the most comfortable places to play when you are part of the home team. You'll hear the opposite from the visitors. They hate playing in Tropicana. So I sense that he just felt comfortable there. I certainly did. It certainly panned out for him. And now, unfortunately, I would say unfortunately for the Rays, even though they believe they're making the right move, now he's heading somewhere else. You got that power hitter, and that was your main offensive force there. Yes, you got Franco. They're gonna miss him. You can't continue to do this and not get bitten, in the butt later on.
Okay, we'll see how it shakes out on both sides. We'll keep Joel in the AL Central and talk about the White Sox devising a strategy to replace the innings that Lance Lynn leaves on the IL. Yes, that's right. Johnny Cueto riding the mini horse into the south side. That's how he should come in on opening day, with the mini horse and the choppy steps.
Maybe we're starting something.
Joel, explain this. How is a minor league deal worth $4.1 million?
Yeah, he's going to have to ride that to their spring training complex, because he's not going to be ready to pitch right away. He signed a minor league deal for $4.2 million. You mentioned Lance Lynn, knee injury. He's going to miss a minimum of 6 weeks. It's likely to take him all the way through May until he's healed. He's been one of the great workhorses in the sport, and they're going to be missing him. Just on depth of pitching, Garrett Crochet, one of their key relief pitchers, Tommy John surgery. He's going to miss the season. They traded Craig Kimbrell. They wanted to add to their pitching depth, and you see here with Cueto, he has an opt-out on May 15th, and he does the minor league contract instead of a major league contract, so he can control that if he's not up by a certain time, he can get out of this.
Got it, okay.
And so, the likelihood is, Johnny Cueto feels a little rubber army, right? That he comes in, he probably throws for about 2 or 3 weeks down in their minor league complex, maybe gets into a minor league game or two, and then will be called up. They'll hope that Reynaldo Lopez or Vince Velasquez can hold down the number 5 starter job until Cueto is ready, and then Cueto can help them hold it down until Lynn comes back. But it leads me to a bigger question as we see them have some maybe depth issues with their pitching, which is the White Sox, more than anyone else in any division last year, ran unopposed in the AL Central. They won by 13 games. They were never really threatened all year. In fact, they talked a little after getting knocked out in the postseason if they weren't sharp because of it. And I just wonder if we kind of combine the two stories that we're leading here today. You're adding Austin Meadows in Detroit to Javier Baez, to Eduardo Rodriguez, to Spencer Torkelson coming up, to eventually Riley Green, to Matt Manning and Skubal and Casey Mize take a step forward. Are the Tigers about to make sure that the White Sox don't run unopposed? Are Carlos Correa in Minnesota, or the fact that Bobby Witt Jr. is likely to make the Royals starting to percolate a little? The AL Central feels like it got a little closer over the last few weeks.
Yeah. What do you think, Carlos? AL Central, is it the White Sox and everybody else, or have the Twins or Tigers cut into that, as Joel's suggesting, perhaps?
No, they certainly cut into it a little bit. We're looking at the Twins getting so much better. Last year was an absolute debacle.
This board here, too, by the way, not to interrupt you, but it tells you that if they could have just gotten rid of April.
We got that full screen, Bill?
Yeah, we got it, Harold. It's right here. If it started May 8th, it would have been a much closer affair.
Yeah, how about the Tigers, man? They've really come on strong. They showed you there that they could play. Now, they've made some additions. So I would say yes, this division is a lot stronger now that the Tigers have made some significant improvements. The Twins have made serious improvements to the lineup. I expect them to compete. It's just that the White Sox, their offense, it's something that you cannot just turn a blind eye to.
Yeah.
They're going to score some runs. As a matter of fact, they could even outslug bad pitching. It's just that they actually have good pitching. So that's they're my favorites in that division. It's going to be definitely a fight, but I think they run away with it later on. When you have the long season, 162 games, that offense cannot be stopped.
Joel, I think that within their own ecosystem of the AL Central, the White Sox get fat when they play in the division. It's how they fare in the East, to a lesser degree in the AL West, that might determine the size of their advantage in their own division.
I agree with that, Matt. The other thing to keep in mind here is we see Detroit build up in what I think we might argue is probably the weakest division in at least the American League. Is we all have to grow comfortable that the playoffs are a little larger this year. We're going from 5 teams to 6 teams. And one of the things I'm sure Detroit is eyeing is, yeah, we want to make a run towards the top of the division, but can we be in it in July where we feel like, hey, if we make a trade or two, and this year the trade deadline is August 2nd, if we make a trade or two, can we at least be players in the wild card situation? I think it's something we have to kind of mentally get through all year, that it might take a different number to just get in the playoffs, and more teams might feel they could get to that number in July than before.
Yep, good stuff from Joel Sherman on a Tuesday.
Keep doing your thing, man. You're on the right trajectory.
Oh, yeah, Harold says you're on the right trajectory. We'll hear from Harold a little bit later on. Harold, by the way, is on assignment today. He's on assignment.
Is he though?
No, he really is.
Is he really?
No, he is. Yeah.
I thought you were kidding.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Day off.
Good morning to Lauren Shahadi
Good
as well.
morning.
Yeah, he's not a day off. I know it's hard to believe. It's usually a day off, but it's not for Harold today.
I'm getting sentimental that this show's ending. Are you?
No, you're not. You're not. You're not.
I am a little bit.
Carlos. He hates to see it go.
Yeah.
Are you a morning person, Carlos?
Not really.
Not really. Well, I'm gonna need you to wake up a little.
Not really. Let's go. Wake up.
We all have coffee. Matt has coffee every day. I have a chai tea latte, and I'm learning that coffee orders are very specific. Take a look.
Cold brew with a double shot of espresso and sauteed cream cold foam. Well, I know drink coffee, so
I don't know.